Big news here late in the day. The FBI just raiding the office of Michael Cohen. Yes, the same Michael Cohen who's the president's personal attorney. We're going to take a look at what this means for the Stormy Daniels case and the president. Then a revolt at one of the largest newspapers in the West. The owner slashing costs and jobs, and the editors fighting back with several critical articles about their own management on their front page. We'll take a look at whether this will be a turning point in the fight to save print. Also, Sean Hannity versus Jimmy Kimmel, the talk show host versus the late night comedian. This one getting uglier by the moment, it seems. Who has the most to lose? Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French, and our rundown changed late this afternoon as we start with big legal news involving the President of the United States. The FBI this afternoon just raiding the office of Michael Cohen, President Trump's personal attorney. Cohen, he's the one who paid Stormy Daniels $130,000 to keep quiet about her alleged affair with the president just weeks before the election last November. Trump says he didn't know anything about it. Here's where things get even more interesting. Special Counsel Bob Mueller referred the case to federal prosecutors in New York who obtained the search warrant. The FBI then seized emails, reportedly tax documents, business records, and more. Time saying Mueller likely came across something during the investigation, then tipped off the feds in New York. Cohen's attorney says the government overreaching. He also said this has resulted in, quote, unnecessary seizure of protected attorney-client communications between a lawyer and his clients. And that client, by the way, would be this guy, the President of the United States. That likely means messages between Trump and Cohen were seized in the raid today. Let us bring in our panel. Phil Reisman, a radio host on WVOX and a columnist who wrote for the Journal News for more than 30 years. Vinny Velasquez, he ran George Pataki's campaign for president, Joe Loda's campaign for New York mayor. Richard St. Paul, fellow Republican strategist and former vice chair for the National Black Republican Association, and Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent. Okay. So, my counselor at the table here, as much as we want to lower down the thing, for Bob Mueller, former FBI director who's running the probe, to go to a federal judge and say, this is what I got. He can only be one of two things, and correct me if I disagree. They found such damning evidence that it warranted a raid, or two, they found pressing cause for why evidence could be destroyed on the part, that they authorized the raid to go in, and again, for a personal attorney, where attorney-client privilege exists, federal judge still said, you got it, here's the warrant, go on in.
Yeah, so to your second part, yes, typically there is an authorization for a raid because they think evidence will be destroyed. And Cohen, in his statement, or I think it was his attorney, that actually said that this was unnecessary, which means that they could have issued a subpoena to him to request documents, but because the federal government or the feds thought something would be destroyed, they did a search warrant. Secondly, let's not jump the gun. Even though he is the president's personal attorney, we don't know, and it may be likely that it has nothing to do with the president and his finances or any legal
whatever's
matters.
Been leaked, and to this point, usually what's been leaked has been on. This had to do with the Stormy Daniels case and more. Again, I'm not remotely saying to anyone tonight here, we know definitively, because we don't, what was seized, but it began with the investigation, but went beyond the four corners of where Mueller was limited, and there was more to it. And a federal judge, knowing full well that this is the attorney representing the President of the United States in personal matters, he still authorized that warrant to go in, and to go in and not ask, but to take.
Which means that there was some, that Mueller made the referral. It doesn't necessarily have to do with the Russia investigation, but has something to do with a violation of Title 18, which is the criminal statute for the federal government. So there was some type of violation there. The other thing that's been spoken about is the possibility that that the $130,000 that Cohen gave to Stormy Daniels, somehow he was reimbursed for, maybe potentially from the campaign. And if that happened and it wasn't reported,
that would be a
obviously
violation of federal election law.
Exactly.
But I don't think FEC cases usually get to this level of Yeah, but
It's always a cover-up. That's
No,
bigger
I
than
understand
the
that, but for an
crime.
FBI
Whatever
raid,
cover-up.
I mean, FEC investigations usually take years and get resolved, 3-4 years after the
Unless they saw
election.
correspondence
Yeah.
that said, get rid of it now, destroy the documents, do something like that.
We will see. And you mentioned the federal judge who had to sign off on the warrant, and let's keep in mind that this got referred to the FBI, who is now overseen by a purely Trump appointee. So there are some levels that would seem to indicate that this would not be perhaps as partisan.
The point is, Mueller couldn't have did what he did today just because he wants to.
Yeah.
You had to have the, okay, so then, Vinny, this brings up, we're now definitely into the world of conjecture, but frankly, the president's inner circle that was there 15 months ago, a lot of those people aren't there anymore, okay? By all accounts, those close to him say he's far more isolated, extremely angry with how this investigation has been going, and now they're going after his personal attorney, okay? I'm just saying, if he was going to make a move on Mueller, okay, and I saw a couple Republican lawmakers, including Long Island's own Lee Zeldin, saying, this might be overreach and whatever else, given that we still don't know what the heck really went on. I could see the president saying, I want him out. I want Mueller gone today.
Well, he may very well want that, but whether or not he does it is a whole other
Because
thing.
the impulse control is so good.
But also, I don't mean to interrupt, but what is Sessions going to follow through with that? Could this be a Saturday Night Massacre kind of a thing?
It would be disastrous for him to do that. And at the end, you have to come, the political, the legal
You
is
think that would be a bridge too far for the Republican Party?
Absolutely, that would be a bridge too far. But does it matter politically? And I would say no, this doesn't matter politically. We were talking before. It's so hard to keep all of these different characters in this play straight. And you have 80 to 90% of Republicans who will not believe anything that the president did anything wrong. You have 80 to 90% of
You don't believe that number.
Democrats
Are you saying the raid on Michael Cohen wouldn't have an impact politically, or that if Trump fired Mueller, that wouldn't have an impact politically?
No, the raid on Cohen. No, that'll have a political impact. What I'm saying, he needs to step back and realize that the Trump voters are with the president. They're not going to believe anything that comes out of this investigation.
Well, from a practical matter, what number matters more? Republican voters writ large, or Republican lawmakers in a midterm election year, where already a lot of them, especially in the Senate, are challenged? They don't like this guy anyway, a lot of them to begin with. Right. Do they really want to potentially lose their job defending this guy in November?
No, of course not. But that's why you need to take a step back and realize that the long-term political impact of the raid on Michael Cohen isn't, I think, as disastrous as people are going to make it out to be on the next 20 years.
Well, it depends what he finds, and to me also.
Right, and that's why the stakes could not be higher.
Yeah.
These things are always very dramatic. The raid on the offices, the big boxes and cartons of stuff being, carted.
No-knock raid on Manafort. Yeah.
And how many it worked well with Menendez too.
Right. And we've seen these where, they didn't find anything. So I'm not saying they won't.
It's a big gamble on Mueller's part,
I'm saying the drama of this event is
but we gotta put it in the political window that it's in.
Because
you're going to have.
We may never find out what's actually in this
I
stuff.
think we'll find something out. But my point is, Jim Comey's book comes out in a week and a half, okay? This president already believes that enemies lie in wait here and everything else. Comey's going to be doing an interview basically, 3 times a morning, okay? And then twice at night. It's going to drive this president crazy. And then this is when his problems go from bad to worse, when he gets on Twitter and he goes on Fox and Friends and he goes nuts.
Well, there's no doubt there's an incremental bleed going on here, and that means certainly that, and it's almost like they're poking the bear, and he's going to react. We just don't know how he's going to react. And by the way,
and then we could have a bombing of Syria here in the next 24 to 48 hours.
There you go.
The other thing is that
can he do both?
If you look at Trey Gotti, right, and he's actually done a favor to House Republicans.
For a minute, I thought you said John Gotti, and somehow it
no,
seems to fit in this story. Go ahead, Trey
His
Gotti.
ghost.
Yeah,
No,
the actor
right.
in South Carolina. Yeah.
It's like, it's finally politicians are seeing the FBI more than us now.
A mobster. Yeah.
So right. But he's kind of done the House Republicans a favor, right? He's come out with the House Intelligence Committee report. There's no finding of any connection between the Russians and the president. Boom. Now everybody can go out and go out in their happy way, be reelected, and say, there was no finding, there's no connection, and they don't have to worry about talking about that particular issue.
By the way, Cinderella was less fiction, than that thing. Let's not even try and give that big credibility. Yeah, you gotta laugh or you'll cry. All right, obviously this story just beginning. Any developments this hour we'll have for you, and tomorrow I'll have a former federal prosecutor on the air as well to talk about the significance of this. He also has been, he's worked with Mueller in the past and a lot of the players involved, so he'll have a really interesting input on that. But when we come back, the table, I'm curious how the way in particularly Phil here. A major newspaper is in the news for all the reasons that newspapers don't want to be. Editors at the Denver Post writing scathing editorials about the owners of their own paper. We'll discuss how this could impact the entire business and where it says we are right now.